You ever have one of those bad moments that turns into a bad day, that turns into a bad week, which turns into a bad couple of weeks, which then leads to your entire life spiraling out of control and feeling like you're stuck in this endless loop of shit? Well, I got something for you. Welcome to Life Talks with Lex, a podcast where we keep it real, raw, and relevant as we explore conscious conversations about the human experience and all of life's conditions. I'm your host, Coach Lex, a self-development and leadership empowerment coach whose mission and passion is to bring more love, joy, peace, and empowerment to individuals on a real level. I have a heavy background in human services, psychology, mental health, behavioral health care, human design, astrology, and much more. I am so glad that you're here and hope you subscribe and stick with me through this season and beyond to be a part of the Conscious Collective. Hey guys, so glad to have you back. I figure this week we need an episode to just chill. We need an episode while all this chaos is ensuing around us in our world today to just recenter and bring the power back home to ourselves. I say that all the time. I know you hear me say it all the time, but I think we all need to be reminded, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in what's happening around us. I think we all need to be reminded that our experience, our very human experience of life, does not have to be controlled by what's happening around us externally. Every single day, we do have the choice to alter that experience by what we consume, how we contribute to it, what we're doing, what we're showing up for, what we're not doing, etc. So I made this episode because I want you to just detach from all of this chaos, all of this noise that, not saying it's not important, but that's dictating your ability to experience joy, your ability to connect with your fellow human, your ability to see life as worth living. I just want you to detach for at least these 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to improve the quality of your life on a day-to-day basis. Specifically with these next 10 practices, concepts, things you can start doing in this very moment that will, without a doubt, alter your perception, your experience, etc. Number 1, gratitude. Now, before you say, I've heard it all before, I know I have to have gratitude. I do practice gratitude. I know that I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z, and I think about that often. It is more than a thinking game, okay? Gratitude becomes a practice like anything else. It is, in fact, because it is so simple, I think it is so often overlooked, and it's so easy to forget about. But this is something that I learned. I didn't master gratitude until I spent time in the recovery field, until I spent time in addiction recovery and going to all recovery meetings and going to AA meetings and and going to Al-Anon meetings, all of those recovery-based programs taught me something very deep about gratitude. Gratitude is about creating this energetic frequency from within that emanates externally. The first thing that gratitude does is it shifts our focus mentally. It shifts our focus from one that is built in lack and scarcity to one that is abundant. When we start to focus on what we do have and what there is plenty of, we naturally attract more of it. We naturally attract more of that abundance because we're not focused on, I don't have this yet. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. Us wishing for something we don't have or focusing on what we don't have is only going to call more attention to what we don't have. It's not going to call in what we don't have. Okay? It's just not. The scarcity attracts scarcity. Abundance attracts abundance. So when you're practicing gratitude, it shifts your focus. The other thing it does is it instills a different kind of joy within you, because as you start sitting there, thinking, writing, feeling this abundant energy within yourself, your experience of that moment, of that day, starts to change. Your perspective starts to shift. Incredible things start to happen. And I'm not talking about I'm grateful that I woke up today. No. Go deeper. I'm grateful for music. Why am I grateful for music? Because when I'm listening to music, it inspires me. It inspires me to create. And what I'm creating is of benefit for the collective. How is it of benefit for the collective? I'm grateful to be in a space where I'm able to create content for the collective that is conscious and loving and compassionate because it fulfills my mission of X, Y, and Z. Go deep with it. Go deep with it. This is available to you every day, and yet it's a practice that we every day take for granted and overlook. But it's very powerful because it does have that ability to shift our lens and create a frequency that attracts more of what we want. So, number one will always be gratitude. Just start practicing it actively and consistently, because, this isn't about practicing gratitude one day of the month and saying, wow, I didn't notice any changes. You won't. It's like going to the gym one day a month and expecting to see a change. You're not going to, right? But if you went to the gym 3 days a week, you might start to see a change. You might start to feel a change within your body. And that's the same thing with gratitude. If you're practicing gratitude 3 times a week or every day for 7 days, you might start to see and feel a frequency shift within your body, within your mind, within your experience, right? So actively and consistently, it's a practice. Number 2 is mindfulness. What do I mean by mindfulness? Because I'm sure you've heard this term over and over again. It's certainly grown in popularity these days. Mindfulness is about dropping the mind and being present. When is the last time you were truly present doing something you were doing or just being in the moment? We are time travelers of the past, of the future, of what we have to do the 20 minutes from now, of what we have to do tomorrow, of what we did yesterday. We never truly settle in to our present moment. And then that moment becomes the past. And we focus on it again in the past tense. But when we're mindful, we're just centered. We're just there. And there's no pressure. There's no worry. There's no fear. There's no anxiety, because nothing exists besides that moment in time. Mindfulness is about reconnecting to your body. Okay? It's about breathing, understanding that I am here. I'm alive. This shit's really happening right now. Okay? Nothing else is calling for my concern. Nothing else is driving me away from being present in this moment, except what's going on automatically up in the brain. But you are not your brain, and you are not your body. You have a brain, you have a body. You are the awareness of the two. You are the energetic being that is in this vessel. So mindfulness is about understanding that, dropping the mind, feeling into the body, and really being present in the moment. Just try it. Just try it. And you're going to say, well, my mind kicked into overdrive. It's going to do that. It's going to take practice. Once again, it's going to take practice to just, okay, deep breaths, and I'm just here in this moment. What would happen if I was just here in this moment? If I was nowhere else, if I was just washing this dish, if I was just holding this pen and focused on this pen for the present moment and not what I have to do 2 weeks from now, what would happen? I want you to try it and find out. Just observe what it's like to just be present. You know, you can bring in practices like meditation and yoga to help you with this, but this is something you can just do on a regular basis at your desk, in the kitchen, in your car, at the beach, wherever you are. Just take a couple of deep breaths and remind yourself that, hey, this is time and space right here, right now. What is it like to just be here? Okay, so you can try that. The third thing is a social media detox. Yeah. I think we could all use a social media detox, because where are we getting all of our information? Where are we posting all of our information? How are we identifying ourselves? What are we consuming? How are we comparing? Who are we competing with? How many likes did we get? Are we getting the validation we're seeking? I mean, holy smokes. Our minds, our eyes, our fingers, our necks need a break from that shit. And we are so tempted to post everything we see, everything we experience. We got to put it on Facebook. We got to put it on Instagram. We got to let the people know. Don't get me wrong. I'm guilty of it too, especially with the photos. I love photos. One thing about me is I'm going to take a photo. Okay? I have thousands and thousands and thousands of photos in my gallery on my phone, to the point where, you know, every 10 seconds, my iPhone is like, upgrade your storage. Fuck you. There's no more space. What are you doing? And I'm like, no, we can fit more photos, because I love a photo. Okay. And I take them. I'm grateful I take them, because I want to keep reliving all the best moments of my life. Like, I really do love looking back and going, yes, this was such an awesome moment. Like, I'm so glad I have a picture with this person. I'm so glad, you know, we captured the essence of that moment. But social media goes deeper than that. And we know that. We know that every time there's a national news event, the first thing everyone does is go to Facebook and tell everyone how they feel about it. Tell everyone their opinion on it, because God forbid. Think about that for a second. Why are we doing that? What is the purpose of that. Because, listen to episode 1 of this show. Connection is down. Isolation is up. So us taking to our social media accounts anytime national news breaks out is not an act of connection. Not truly, anyway. But this temptation we have to just post about everything we feel and we think and we see is kind of robbing us of the opportunity to experience our senses. The sensory experience of what we consume, what we perceive, what we see, what we feel, how we process. That is a gift. That opportunity is rich, but taking to social media has desensitized us from it. We don't even realize it's an opportunity to learn and to grow, right? We just think, oh, this is what we do now. We take to social media and none of it makes us feel any better. We get angrier, we get more wrapped up in the chaos, and then we're wondering why things are so bad in the world around us, why our life experience is so shitty. Take a break. Choose one. Choose one where you're constantly scrolling, because that's another thing. You're scrolling. You're just in total consumption. And that consumption has now consumed your entire day. It's consumed an hour of your time. Think about what you're consuming and just detox from it for a little while. And while you're detoxing, you can move on to number 4, which is doing something you love. I know all of these sound really simple, but really, when you sit down and you take an inventory of your life, I want you to really take a look at how much time is spent doing something you love. Many of us work 40 hours a week in jobs that we absolutely hate just to pay the bills. Many of us are just fulfilling roles and obligations that we feel like we really didn't sign up for, but now we have to tend to. So when is the last time you did something you actually love doing? I don't know. Maybe it's reading a chapter of a book. Maybe it's drawing. Maybe it's painting. Maybe it's all of these things that you've put on hold because you have more important things to do. And by the time you're done doing all of them, you feel like you have no more time or energy left in the day. Really, make some time to do something that you love. The energy of doing something you love pours back into you tenfold. When I finish recording this podcast, when I finish reading a book, when I finish making a playlist, when I finish painting, when I finish doing something that absolutely lights me up, it's like I went to sleep for 8 hours, because all of a sudden I have this regenerative energy that has poured back into me and given me this new sense of light and joy. And I'm like, okay, let's go do this now. Let's go do the things that I have to do because they seem less daunting now that I've actually given some time and space to something that I enjoy and love doing. We tend to think of life the opposite, right? We tend to think that those things have to wait because there are more important things that we have to do. But really, it's the opposite. Stephen Covey, The 7 Traits of Highly Effective People. Have you read that book? It's all about first things first, right? Not just tending to the urgent pressing tasks or, ignoring completely the urgent pressing tasks, but actually setting ourselves up for success by including the tasks or the activities that will sustain what we have to do in the long run, sustain what we want to do. And those things are often all about nourishing us and how nourishing us contributes to true sustainability and the success of reaching our long-term, short-term goals. Don't discredit doing something you love. It's super important, probably the most important thing that you could be doing. All right, number 5 is listening. It's what you're doing right now. But when I say listening, here's what I mean. Most of us see and speak to the same people every day. So we tend to tune out more than we're tuning in. So we're giving like half of our attention to people and things that we consider only half as important as everything else we have going on. We stop listening. We stop being present. This is about being present as well. But when we listen, it goes a long way. When we're actively listening, when we listen with our whole body, we build like this radar of reception, this openness that lets the universe know, I'm here. I'm ready. What you got for me? What am I going to pick up from this conversation? What am I going to pick up from this interaction? What am I going to pick up from this experience? What am I going to pick up from what's going on up in my brain that has the potential or is an invitation for me to start thinking about something differently, for me to start doing something differently? Okay, there's a lot of power in that. But we very much take that for granted because what are we doing usually? We're in social media mode where we need to post. We need to give our opinion. We need to get on to us. Listen, just listen. See what happens when you listen. When you're listening to the sounds of nature, when you're listening to the sounds around you. What happens when you tune in to the frequency of the world? Not the noise, the frequency. Okay? What are you listening to and how are you listening? Also, it helps to build connection. Connection is what we're hardwired for, and it literally impacts what we do, how we do it, who we do it with. It impacts how we build networks, how we achieve opportunities. It goes a long way. So just start listening. Paired with listening is number 6. Open your mind. Please, for the love of God, open your mind. Your mind is so inundated with bullshit. Okay? And it's on autopilot. It's just constantly going. Thought after thought after thought after thought. I want you to just open it up, release some of that bullshit, drop all of your idealistic preconceived notions about how things are supposed to be and how the day is supposed to look and how people should be acting, and just let it go. Let it go. You want to experience true liberation? Let that shit go. It has got a grasp on you so tight that you have lost your ability to just experience life, joy, fun, excitement, because you're so trapped up in your own mind that you can't even tune into the sensory experience that's there for you at every turn. Open your mind. You don't know everything. No one knows. So understand that at every turn, at every corner, if your mind is open, you can learn something very, very powerful. You can learn something that helps you grow. You can learn something that puts you in more meaningful connection. Open up the mind. Number 7 is for all my peeps that are ready to get their daily steps in. Take a walk. Okay, and I'm talking to myself right now too, because I have the great tendency to get wrapped up in work, whether I was working in corporate or in the school system or just from home in my office, get cooped up, wrapped up all day long in work and sitting in the same place. I have just this natural life force, workforce energy that will just keep going and going and going. So I can pour a lot into one sitting, but I need to take breaks because remember, we're talking about the sustainability of energy and the processing of that energy. Energy becomes stagnant when we're not moving, when we're sitting in one place, when we're sitting in one space, when we're in the same environment. So walking is about movement, yes. Getting up, moving the body, moving the energy through the body, but also about environment, about changing up the scenery. One of my favorite quotes, you need to see more in order to be more. Yeah, you need to get out there. You need to get grounded. You need to move the body. You need to shake up your space. Change the scenery, change the lens so that you can sustain what you're doing. It's very contributive to inspiration, motivation, manifestation, all the Asians. Okay? It's very impactful in that way. So on your lunch break, get up and walk. Before your shift starts, get up and walk. Take a 10-minute walk break. If your work allows for that, just get up and walk. I don't care if you walk into the next room. I don't care if you walk down the hall. I don't care if you walk to a window and look out a window. Change up your space and your scenery and get some movement in. Number 8, if you can't take a walk, if your work does not allow for that, time does not allow for that, and you have to stay where you are for whatever reason, number 8, write it down. Write it down. If you're having a bad moment, you're having a bad day, you're having this energy that's just, it's just ick. It's consuming you. And you're like, I can't move past this. I can't do good work. I can't be effective right now. I can't focus on anything else. I want you to just get it out, right? What happens when we eat bad food? What happens when we go out to a restaurant and we eat rotten food, bad food? We get food poisoning, right? But we don't just get food poisoning and say, okay, I have food poisoning. It was bad food, right? What do? We're usually in the bathroom. Our body's trying to get rid of it. It's trying to release that toxicity. Same thing with our energy, with our mind. We need a process to release that. Otherwise, it's really going to make us sick. And we could go deep into that conversation, but that's for another time. Terminal diseases, terminal illnesses is a really, really good book about this as it pertains to cancer and mindset and how our energy and our frequency and our thoughts contribute to the physical manifestations within our body. So when we write it down or we just talk it out, it's a form of release for ourselves. Okay? It's just putting it out there in our own words so that we don't have to keep it bottled up in our body. Write it out. And coupled with this, which I didn't really factor into this episode, but here's a really, really, really cool trick that someone else taught me. One of my mentors taught me. Schedule it into your day. Schedule this into your day. So write it out. Don't give it all day. Don't give this bad moment access to your entire day. But literally put it in your schedule. 10 minutes of of thought dumping, 10 minutes of release. I had my 10 minutes, and then every day maybe it decreases 9 minutes, 8 minutes, 7 minutes. Give yourself the time to do that. It's okay. You don't have to dance around it. You don't have to avoid it. Put it in your day. Factor it into your day so that you could be more effective, so that you could be more in joy, so that you could be more in connection, because it's getting in the way of you showing up for yourself. So get it out there. Keep a journal. Keep an untitled document. I am the queen of untitled documents on the computer, of just like thought dumping. I have to get this out. Notes app in the phone. Give it some time. Give it some space. Release what is otherwise poisoning you and bleeding into every interaction, every activity, everything that you do. Number 9. This is going to sound a little similar to number 4, but it's different. Do something you don't have to do. Okay, so I don't mean do something that you love, and I don't mean do something you're obligated to do. What I mean is do something you could do, but you don't have to do. Get out of this over-responsible, self-obsessed, concerning mindset and do something you may not typically do, that you don't have to do. You're not obligated to do. Maybe it's picking up the copies from the printer and walking it to your coworker's desk. You didn't have to do that, but it was a nice gesture. You saved them a trip, right? Maybe it's driving to the beach at the end of your day and sitting there for 10 minutes. Maybe it's taking a different way home at the end of the day, taking the scenic route. Doing something you wouldn't normally do that you don't have to do. Just doing something different. This isn't about having a rhyme or reason for doing it. It's just, what can I do that's different? That I wouldn't normally do, that I don't have to do, but that I could try. It's about shaking up your routine. It's about getting out of the monotonous, mundane, same old, and really interacting with life in a different way. Think about it. Think about how zombified we get in our routines. We're just droning on and on and on, going through the motions. Just do something a little out of the ordinary for you. And see, observe what it feels like. Observe how it impacts your day. You might find you really enjoy it. You might find that a random act of kindness makes you feel really good. Puts you back in connection to yourself. It puts you back in connection to others. It changes your outlook on the day. So do something, do one thing. Could be small, could be big. Could pay for a cup of coffee for someone. You could do something for yourself that you wouldn't normally do, that you didn't have to do. Just do something a little bit different and see what it's like. Last but not least, number 10. Throw out the clock. Our whole lives are spent waiting, planning, timing, working, looking at the clock. In school, we look at the clock. At work, we look at the clock. And we count the hours in the day. We count how many hours we get to sleep. We're constantly obsessing over how much time we have. So much so that there's never enough. There's never enough time. Time, here's a little secret for you. Time does not exist, but clocks do. Okay? You have an infinite amount of time. I want you to let that sink in. You have all the time in the world that you need. But if you want to bound that by a clock, constantly. I'm not saying to ignore your obligations, okay? Don't take this to the next level. I'm not saying just throw out the clock and, ignore your obligations. Don't show up to that meeting. No, but stop telling yourself you don't have enough time. Just be present, be mindful, be in the moment. Throw out the clock, stop counting the hours, stop counting the minutes, and just live. Just exist. You have all the time in the world. What do you want to do with it? What do you want to fill it with? If you try to limit yourself in that way, you limit your experience. So throw out the clock. All of these tips and tricks, all of these practices, all of these acts seem very simple. They seem very cliche. They seem like you've probably heard them all before. Maybe you haven't done them, but you've heard them all before. I've tried that. I've done this. It's so simple, it seems stupid, right? It seems like, how is that really going to work? But I promise you, it starts small and it has a huge ripple. So the next time you're having a bad moment, you're having a bad day, try one of the 10. Just try one of the 10. You have these at your disposal every single day. They are within your control to utilize. Bring that power back home to yourself and stop forfeiting it to everything externally happening around you. These are there for you every day. How are you going to make an impact on it? Just food for thought. I love you. Until next time. If you enjoyed today's episode of Life Talks with Lex, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. To stay current on all the latest from Coach Lex, you can find me on Instagram at Alexis Christie Coaching or shoot me an email, alexischristiecoaching@gmail.com with any comments, questions, concerns, or topics you'd like to see explored on the show. I look forward to hearing from all of you, and I look forward to the next conscious conversation.